So sometimes you might have, or your client might have, a big dreadlock that's taking up a lot of space on the scalp, and you'll see that it looks uncomfortable. It doesn't lay right. It might cause scalp irritation. It might cause hair to come out. Maybe the grid on the head is just not sitting comfortably with their hair flow, the waves of their hair. So this is my method for separating them and for making them sit more comfortably. And you can do this all over the head. You can actually over time completely reconfigure somebody's grid on their head to make it sit more comfortably for them or for you. So if you got any questions, let me know. So let's take a look at these two dreads that are just too big. You could see the slack on the left and how the dread just really doesn't know which way to lay comfortably. Right here we can see where it actually tries to split naturally based on her hair's natural wave pattern and just based on how far that hair has to stretch to get to the center of the dreadlock. It puts a lot of pressure on the hairline when it has to stretch that far. It really isn't necessary for her hair to be thinning in the front like that. That is absolutely being caused by the size of this dread. See how thick that is compared to a standard size? I've been working on her hair for probably about 8 years now, maybe, and slowly but surely we have split and combined and basically reworked the dread grid that had been created for her originally. Look at that. So much closer to the hairline now. The hair doesn't have to travel so far. So I'm going to show you how I did this way back then, because I've done it on other parts of her hair and I have recorded that. Here you can see where I was working on the side, another situation of the dreadlock being too large. The first thing I'm going to do is feel around to where that hair parts and try to pull it apart with my hands. When I see it's not pulling apart with my hands, I get my scissors and I'm just slicing the cross hairs that go across the surface of the dreadlock. Those little surface hairs are what's holding the whole nest into place. When I release those hairs, the two independent dreadlocks, or at least what's trying to be independent, starts to separate. And once you can get a good grasp, you're going to get your hands inside of that hole and on either side, and you're just going to start pulling. If it doesn't seem to be pulling apart naturally, you just keep working with your scissors and snipping those tiny little surface hairs. You do not want to just cut through the dread because there's structure to every dreadlock, even if it is constantly trying to separate itself and forms kind of like two independent dreads as one with surface hairs crossing over the top of it. It still has an internal structure that you want to maintain as much as possible. So we don't just go taking our scissors and cutting right down the center of that dread. You're going to lose your structural integrity. This is a pretty long process. It can take upwards of maybe a half hour per dread. I've tried speeding up this video as much as possible so that you could see it in its entirety and not get too bored. This does take a lot of hand strength and it takes a lot of patience. Again, you see I'm just working on the surface. I found where it splits. So at some point, you can kind of just feel the split area and you could glide your scissors along that split. See that? It's starting to naturally separate. It is the best feeling when you grab hold of those two sides and you give it a good go and it just starts just tearing apart. And look at, you can see that those are two independent dreads. We're getting close to the end now, the moment of truth. I never pull too quickly because I want them to be the same length if possible, just like this. Look at that. Voila. And they're clean, which is great. She says that having her dreads separated like this gives her scalp so much relief and breathability. And actually the mobility of the dreads is even better. And look at how consistent her whole head of dreads looks now.